All right, welcome back. Part two. So you just passed your permit test, right? So now the following day they go over a little bit of the beginning of pre-trip, and that's something that you got to focus on. Pre-trip, right? You're gonna first focus on the front of the vehicle. This is again in Fontana only, Fontana, California. If you go to Phoenix or any of the other school, don't pay no mind to this. So pre-trip, you're checking your front of your vehicle and your passenger and driver side engine bay. That's the only thing you check for the first little part of pre-trip. It's easy, right? You should be getting all your points on all that. So then you go and they actually bring you out to the yard. When I went, it was about 115. Best investment I'll tell you guys to make: get a folding chair, one of those like camping folding chairs. Best investment I ever made. That, and then I had a gallon igloo jug that I brought with me every day. I ended up filling out with like Gatorade powder, for electrolytes because it was like 115 outside. So you start doing your pre-trip. And then they introduce straight line backing. Straight line backing is easy. With your tractor and your trailer, back up in a straight line. If your trailer starts going one way, you turn your wheel to counteract it, right? Small corrections because we're using 53 footers here. So, and it takes a little bit for the trailer to react, about 10 feet for your trailer to start reacting. So, they'll teach you all that stuff. Pretty simple. That's the end of week 1. Week 2, you start doing your side of the vehicle pre-trip on top of your front of the vehicle. And then you start doing offset. Offset's where you pull up, swing into this lane, and back in. Right? Real easy. You're building on that straight line backing. Halfway through week 2, they teach you coupling. Your coupling, your fifth wheel, locking jaws, your air lines, your glad hands, and all that stuff. They teach you all that. Right? Again, not too difficult. Then you start doing parallel parking, blind side and driver side. It's not that difficult. Find out what works for you. For me, specifically in Fontana, I don't know, something's up with the equipment they used or whatever, but I found after I was about halfway, so parallel park, you start turning this way, and then you start bringing it back, and then you start turning that way, and then you bring it back, and you're in the box, right? I'm not going to explain all that stuff. They'll teach you all that. But about halfway through, I found if I straighten out my wheel and I straight line back about 2 to 3 feet, and then I continue with my cut, I was in the box every time. So that's just a tip that I learned. You'll learn it when you get out there. You'll learn what works for you. Okay, so that's the end of week 2. Also in week 2, at some point in time, you will end up doing a urine test for drugs. And then at any time, you can also get popped for a rando. So they'll tell you, all right, hey, you got to hang out here, and you can't leave till you pee in this cup. So that's the thing that happens. And then after that, you learn alley docking and the trailer pre-trip. Alley docking, it's 90-degree docking, essentially. So you basically jackknife your truck, push it all the way around, swing it back, and in the box. That's the one where your rear bumper has to be within the 3 feet space, and if you go over either way, you fail. Right? Again, though, for Fontana, they'll teach you all the tricks. So now, that last week, you're practicing on alley dock. You're practicing your air brakes, your in-cab inspection. Air brakes are important. Air brakes is a pass-fail. If you don't get it 100%, you fail your air brakes. So study your air brakes like no tomorrow. Okay, now go ahead and study. For that entire last week, they'll tell you Wednesday, all right, this is who's testing on Thursday, this is who's testing on Friday, this is who's testing on Saturday. I was lucky I got tested on Thursday, and I was like number 2 or number 3. So I went really early, which is nice because I didn't want to sit there all day. So basically the DMV test You don't go to DMV. It's through Swift. They have a certified examiner, and that's all he does. It's just DMV tests. They start you out. They say, all right. They check all your stuff, make sure you got your medical card, your your permit, and all that stuff. Brings you out to the yard. Says, all right, pre-trip. Well, actually, no. I'm sorry. First, he says, all right, we're gonna do in-cab and air brakes. So you do your air brakes, you do your in-cab. He says, all right, cool. You pass. Hop out. Do your pre-trip. So you do your pre-trip, and you don't know how far you're gonna have to go. So you can go all the way, you can go halfway. It depends on if you're missing things, or he doesn't really feel confident in your abilities of it. Most of the time you get to the coupling, which I believe coupling is required. You get to the coupling, you say all the coupling, and trailer is optional. Usually, sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. Depends on, again, if you're really on it, you know what you're saying. Cracked, dent, broken, no abrasions, bubbles, cuts, rip, torn, frayed, all that stuff. You'll learn all that verbiage. They'll go over all that stuff with you. Okay. After that, skills. Your skills. Once you pass your pre-trip and your air brakes, consider that like a checkpoint in a video game. So if you fail on your skills, you don't have to do all that pre-trip and air brakes again. You just have to start on skills. Same thing if you pass the skills and you get to the road test, you fail on the road, you don't have to go back to either one of those two. You just start out on the road. Makes it nice. So you go, you do all that. You do your skills. My specific skill was you do straight line backing, which is mandatory. It's mandatory to do offset. It just depends on which side you go, left or right. I went offset left. So you start in the right lane, pull forward, offset to the left, back in, stay in the box. After you do that, you do parallel. I did specifically parallel parking. So I backed all the way out of the box, came up, parallel parked in. No problem. Past that, I think I had like 1 point maybe, or 0 or 1 point on the skills. I was lucky, right? So now do your road test. I shit the bed on the road test. I still passed, but I got 23 points. You're allowed 30, right? All the time while driving with the examiners, the instructors of the school, I was getting like 7, 6, 5. Got with the examiner, 23, because I got that clipboard syndrome in my head. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore, right? Throw everything you know out the window, and you're like, I'm lost. Well, I still passed. Mine was usually taking a turn too wide, which I'd rather take it too wide than too short and clip the curb or clip a car or something. Or when I would turn, I wouldn't end up in the right lane. You're supposed to always end up in the right lane. I'd always end up in like whatever lane I decided, It's my road. I'm a professional driver. Y'all just doing it for amateurs for fun. So, but yeah. So after that, take your stuff to the DMV. Get your paper license. Once you get your paper license, you're a professional. So overall, my experience with CTDA and Swift getting my license, pretty good experience. I feel like there was more, I could have had more time in the truck, definitely, because our class size was about 20 altogether. We did have one person quit, just confusing, the maneuvers were too confusing or whatever, he quit. That's unfortunate. There was another person who he was given every opportunity to succeed, and he ended up failing, and he ended up actually bumping a concrete barrier. So they had to unfortunately let him go from the program. If you hit anything, it's an automatic disqualification. You're not supposed to hit anything. Cones, obviously, doesn't matter. You hit something like concrete, you hit another vehicle, you hit somebody, they can't have you there. It's not safe. Okay, so that's the whole getting your CDL, right? Again, it's not too difficult. It's long days, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. usually, depending on how hot it was. They're long days. So that's going to be at the end of part 2. I'm going to do part 3 next. Thanks.